everyone, and welcome to another Marks & Crafts figurine review. Today we're going to be looking at the Pop-Up Parade Cammy from the Street Fighter franchise. Now, I have previously looked at the Chun-Li from the Street Fighter Pop-Up Parade line, and while it wasn't clear which Street Fighter game that was, this Cammy is the Street Fighter V version. So we at least have a bit of confirmation on that, whereas Chun-Li, it wasn't really clear who she was exactly, which is also a bit weird because the next two, which are, I believe, Collector's Edition exclusives to Street Fighter 6, are the 6 designs. So it's all a bit weird, and just the whole line is awkward. And as you may or may not know, I have been dropping off the Pop-Up Parade line lately, and Cammy is actually the last one I ever pre-ordered. From here on out, I'm only going to be looking at pop-up parades that I know will be good, or I have seen in person, so I know that they were worth getting, unless there's something truly atrocious and I need to review it on the channel or address it. But yeah, there are a few others that I might pop up in the video now that I got a chance to look at, and yeah, I'm just not really happy with the direction that it's going in. As of recording this video, Wonderfest 2023, Winter Wonderfest 2023 had just occurred, and they announced a bunch of other pop-up parades there, and some of them are interesting, some of them aren't. It is cool that we are continuing the Gurren Lagann line, and doing an XL Gurren Lagann final form is a really, really cool idea, but I just don't have confidence in the entirety of the line. And while I might pick up bits and pieces like how I did with the Guts, it doesn't mean that I think the line is good anymore or I have full confidence in them. It's more that sometimes they can pull it off and sometimes they can't. And a lot of other companies are stepping up now to introduce their own Pop-Up Parade-like line, and we'll see how that all pans out and if Good Smile sort of step up their game to compete. But anyway, today we're looking at Cammy. And Cammy, while not sort of like the most iconic Street Fighter characters, and when I say like most iconic, I mean characters like Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li, who definitely represent the franchise, and even Guile represents the franchise quite a bit. Cammy is sort of like just a tier below that. Like, she is very iconic and people know she's from Street Fighter, but she's sort of not always said in the same breath as, say, Ryu and Chun-Li. But that doesn't mean that she's any less important, and it also doesn't mean that they don't merchandise the crap out of her, because they definitely do. And it's been a while since we've had a sort of smallish scale Cammy that wasn't a Bashoujo, and any other statue would have been like a quarter scale resin. So this is a nice little stopgap, especially since the Bashoujos, they don't really do the Street Fighter ones anymore, or at least they haven't done the classic characters in a very long time. But there's always hope for what 6 does. Anyway, I've talked way too much. Let's open her up and have a better look. I'm just going to pause here for a second. What the F is that? I took this out of the box and it's got this crap all over it. Rubbed right off. It seemed like it was dust or dirt, and there were signs that this box had previously been opened, even though I bought it new from Army. That's never happened before. That's really worrying. But yeah, that's not good. Alright, so here's Cammy out of the box and all put together, and she was a bit of a pain to put together, which didn't really come as a surprise, seeing as how the hair attached and how weird the quality felt. Just holding it together. From first impressions, it's a pretty good figure. I'm not too sold on the hair, and that's more pose-wise than it is color-wise. The pose looks okay, but depending on the angle you're looking at the figure from, the hair looks really, really, really weird. So I can already see there are issues with it, especially this top fringe and the way the hair sort of meets around the back. It's kind of weird, but we'll get into that when we get into that. Generally, this does look like Cammy. The sculpt is good, the color is pretty damn good as well, and it has all the major telling details of Cammy, whereas I think that the Chun-Li, it was sort of a character wearing Chun-Li's outfit, not necessarily Chun-Li herself, whereas I think the Cammy pulls it off a bit better. It does look like her. It is a bit tricky to tell because of how the hair hides the face, but generally I think the face is a bit sharper, a bit better detailed, so I think it does read a lot better as Cammy. So I'm happy about that. Her beret's done well. The hair swooshing, I do like that it's a bit dynamic, but I'm not a fan of the actual choice. Her outfit is nicely detailed with the sort of like military gear that she's got from 5, which is just that sort of like extra harness and sort of holsters on the sides. Otherwise it's just her regular sort of green, I don't know what you'd call it, it's like a onesie thing. I don't know the proper term for it. Her red gauntlets are still intact. There's her little like holster thing on her leg, and then her boots down the bottom here, and the now pretty standard pop-up parade circular base. Now, I've learnt recently that not all of the circular bases will be black, some of them will be white. I don't know if they're going to do different colours like they did with the hexagon bases, but I just know that there are variants of the puck base. Still not a fan, but just so you know, they're not always going to be black either, so it's not going to meld well with the hexagons, it's not going to meld well with purely circular bases. It's just a bit of an inconsistent branding issue. But I've spoken endlessly about the bases. I'm just not a huge fan. Paint-wise, this does seem to be one of the better pop-up parades. I don't see any messy lines. There was quite a bit of overspraying on the hair, and it made it difficult to attach. And there was also that crap that was on the hair, which is massive point deduction. That was horrible. Even if it rubbed off, that's not on to be there. The hair does look kind of messy here. I don't know if it shows that well. There's some awkward lines and texturing, but her outfit itself looks good. The gloss of her gauntlets and actual top look nice. The small metallic details seem pretty good. Her eyes are well done. Her face has got a little bit of a mark that isn't the scar, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully that just rubs off. And the matte finish on her skin is nice. The holster is a separate piece, I believe, so the paint's pretty clean on that, and it's all one colour. And the boots are pretty well detailed as well. They're mostly one colour, there's just this little inner lining bit that's red. But otherwise, the paint's pretty good. We'll have a look at the hair some more. It just looks mushy, I'd say. Like the depth of detail isn't too refined, which is a bit of a shame. Her beret looks pretty nice, and again, her weird spaghetti hair. So again, paint and sculpt, not too bad, but I really didn't like that dirt thing when I pulled it out of the box, so really not a fan of that. The overspraying on the hair sucks. I'm not too big of a fan of the sort of dull blonde for the hair. Like, I think it should be just a little more yellow. It feels like, I don't know how it shows on camera, but in person it's almost closer to a brown than it is a yellow. It's almost like a dull gold. But yeah, it's not like a bright yellow, which is what I usually associate with the character. I don't like how the hair loops to her back like that. From the main viewing angle, not too bad, but looks weird there. And her front hair fringe looks so stupid from any other angle except for the main viewing angle. It was a mistake to choose that, I think. It just looks bizarre. So next up, we'll compare her with a few other figures. So here she is next to the pop-up parade Chun-Li, and you can see they're the exact same scale with each other, and they match pretty well. They're both sort of ready stances, and both are pretty well suited to the characters. Here's a HG Gundam, which is Gundam Aerial, and they're about Figma size, so you can see Pop-Up Parade do stand taller than Figmas. And here's SH Figure Arts Anya, which is 1/12 scale, and she's just tiny because she's Anya. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about this. It's not a bad Pop-Up Parade, and taking away my bias from the little things that I've found, it is probably one of the better ones, and you could say they're showing improvement, but again, the sculpt has issues, and paint, there are issues. I don't know what happened with the dirt on my one, which is a massive disappointment. And yeah, look, it's good. The muscular detail and sculpt and everything like that is really, really good, and there's a whole reason why I've had it at this same angle. We know what Cammy's all about. But yeah, it's a good figure, but I don't like my one that much. And much like every other pop-up parade, it's just okay. It hasn't really convinced me otherwise for me stopping pre-orders on these. It's just a like wait and see. If it's good, it's good. If it's not sort of figure. It didn't convince me otherwise, and mine in particular wasn't that great out of the box. And I don't know what else to say. It's just, look, I really like Cammy, and I really like that I've got a figure of her. It's just that I would still prefer the Bishoujo figures over this. And if the Bishojos were still easily affordable or easy to find, I would definitely recommend those over this, especially since ever since Pop-Up Parade did the price hike, the gap between Pop-Up Parade and scale isn't nearly as severe. You might as well just save the money you'd spend on 2 Pop-Up Parades and get 1 scale. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next. Just really quickly, you can alter her hair, or like stretch her hair just a bit to be more in line with the promo images of the figure. It's just that when you first slot them in, they do not want to behave correctly. So it does fix up that a bit, but the hair probably looks even weirder from different angles now.